Hey friends, how are you? Welcome. Another one of our Slant Alpha adventures getting underway. Slant Lima style tonight for sure. But should still be a fun one as we are going to be doing some very challenging approaches up here in the southern area of Alaska. And this is going to be the second time in recent history that we've done this. We've done this a few times on the stream, but second time in recent history. Most recent time was about 3 months ago, and we really didn't do that well. This is the kind of stream that gives me a whole new respect. Well, of course, I already have a ton of respect for the men and women who fly these types of airliners on a daily basis, just anywhere in the world. But even more so for those who work daily up here in Alaska, for Alaska Airlines in particular, because they really have some tough challenges in terms of getting in and out of these airports and providing service to the communities that they serve. So we're going to give it another whirl tonight. We'll see if we can do any better than last time. Tonight the itinerary is Ketchikan, going up to Sitka, which is just a short hop, and then from Sitka on up to Cordova, Mudhole Smith or whatever it's called, up there in Cordova, Alaska. It is the PMDG 737-700 series, and let's have some fun, guys. JJ has stopped into the chat already, so good to see you. And in the flight planning process for this very first leg, we already kind of encountered an interesting situation. Not one that I'm vaguely aware of, but I think the first time that we've really truly encountered it on stream. I'm going to show you what I mean. Went into the IFR route analyzer for FlightAware, and this is a page where you can put in your origin and destination. Then it gives you about 2 weeks worth of actual flights that have been filed in the real world between the airports that you've chosen, and it shows you some information on those flights. It shows you the route, distance, cruising altitude. Even if you click on that and open it up, it'll give you the gate assignments. So you can get a lot of good information from this page. Again, FlightAware IFR route analyzer. You just throw that into Google and it'll pop right up. So the route that it came up with for this is called the UDENE3 Departure, and then the point called FLIPS. And KTN is just the origin, the IATA origin, KTN, and then SIT is the IATA destination. Normally in FlightAware, those don't show up in these routes, but I guess because this is a special area of the country where we have the IACO code isn't just a K plus the IATA code in this case, which is what the pattern in most of the FAA land follows, but it does not in this case. So I guess they show both here. So KTN and SIT you can ignore because that's just the origin and destination restated. But UDENE3 Departure and then FLIPS is the actual route. Well, the funny thing is if you go in SkyVector here and you look at the departures for Ketchikan, well, you've got the Ketchikan 6 obstacle departure and the Scowl 2 obstacle departure, but you don't have a UDENE3. Doesn't exist. So what I assume is the situation, and I've heard of this before, is that Alaska Airlines has a proprietary departure procedure that they have gone through some sort of an approval process with the FAA, and they publish it just to their company. But it is their procedure, their proprietary procedure for getting out of here. Now, the problem with that is there's no public charts available for it. And again, you go in here and it's like, huh, that's not a real thing. So yeah, I don't really have a departure procedure chart for it, so I don't really know how we're getting. I've refiled it on the network with the UDENE J175 FLIPS because I figured, well, obviously we're going to this point UDENE, but I just don't know how we're getting it to UDENE specifically. What we do know is that we've got a southbound obstacle departure procedure that takes us to this 147 to Annette Island, and it's minimum departure at 2,000 feet. So I think once we get above 2,000, we're probably okay. Let's look at the VFR sectional. Yeah, so once you get that direction, it's all mostly over water. So yeah, you're okay, and then you can turn westbound. And the northbound departure, the Scowl 2, it's the minimum climb of 5,300. So if we go back to the VFR chart and we see in this direction, yeah, we've got obstacles of you know, up to 4,000 feet here over Prince of Wales Island. So, yeah, 4,300 is the minimum safe altitude for the VFR chart. So, yeah, we want to climb to 5,300 before we make any turns right on the localizer outbound. So, and then that goes to this point Doozy, but in our case, instead of going to Doozy, we would just be going to this point UDENE. So, so yeah, we're gonna have to be creative a little bit, and of course, typical of southern Alaska. Typical of southern Alaska, we've got this low overcast as well. So we really are going to have to be careful getting out of here, that we are, you know, being mindful of terrain and obstacles. So, yeah, it should be an interesting one. We'll do our best. And yeah, as a casual flyer of the 737, I probably should know more about its, you know, best angle and rate of climb speeds. You know, we're going to be more on a performance envelope in terms of terrain avoidance rather than we are going to be in an economical climb performance. So, you know, I may get myself in trouble here by not really knowing the ins and outs like that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So, Qualip says Ketchikan has an unusual ILS that requires RNP approach with RF legs on their ILS approach. I feel like we talked about that coming into here. When we did this same kind of thing 3 months ago, I think we wound up having to discuss that. Was that this one here? No, it's this one here. Yeah. So it's not completely unusual, although they, you know, in most places when you have a approach path like this, it would just put you on an it would be an RNP, you know, RNP Zulu. But I guess, you know, this path is a RNP-like path, but then it puts you on a precision approach for the final just to get you down to low enough minimums, or I guess, right? Because an RNP Zulu with a curved path like that, the minimums would be much higher. So, yeah, so I guess it is, you know, there's some unique challenges up here in this part of the world. So, yeah, man, it's no joke. And, you know, we'll probably gloss over some important things, and who knows if we're going to get ourselves in trouble with terrain by doing so. We'll certainly have the terrain radar on before we take the runway, for sure. All right, well, let's quit dilly-dallying around. We don't have any VATSIM air traffic control on in this region tonight, so it might just be us here. We are on the VATSIM network, but it may just be us here by our lonesomes. We'll see how that goes, and but let's get to it either way. Yeah, I was about to say wing it, but you'll be taxiing in IMC. Just about. Not completely, but not far off. I mean, by the time we get to the end of the runway, we might, right? All right, let's go. Let's get started. The sooner we get to it, the sooner we can find out whether we're going to die. Speaking of dying, you guys can hear there's still a touch of raspiness in my voice, but I really do feel fine. It's just this cough from this upper respiratory thing I got literally 3 weeks ago at this point, and I'm still trying to shake off the cough, but I'm fine. If the raspiness may be bothersome to you, and I'll try to mute the mic when I clear my throat, but for the most part, I feel fine, and hopefully it won't affect the sound of my narration too much. Let's get down into the FMC, and down here, and let's connect some ground power and ground air conditioning. Let's go back and let's open all the doors and hatches. Okay, the entry door obviously boots up open, but we'll get the cargo and equipment hatches all open. Lieutenant Bob is here. Iowa Scotsman is here as well. Good to see you, friends. Let us get to payload. I'm just going to hit random, but we'll hit random a few times. Oh, this is going to be very, very full. Let's... Oh, and that's 1/3 full. Let's keep hitting random until we get like something 2/3 or higher full. 100 or more passengers, but not necessarily like every seat. Okay, well, all right, it's 3 seats shy of completely full. We'll just go with that. Let's go back then, and our fuel load, almost exactly what we need here. I calculated, no, 20,400. This first flight is pretty short. So we'll see. That should be enough for the 2 legs plus alternates reserves and contingencies, we won't need to take on any additional fuel in Sitka. Alright, jumping up top, let's get the battery power on. That's here. And get the emergency exit lights armed and guarded there. Get the position lights into steady, which is down there. Logo and wheel well lights can come on as well. Let's get the ground power activated. There we go. We can hear some systems coming to life. And then let's go ahead and get the IRS knobs into a line. Now, this normally takes maybe about 10 minutes, a little less if you're near the equator, or a little longer if you're far from the equator. Right now, we are pretty far from the equator. And it's based on literally how much you move, how much the airplane moves as the Earth rotates. So that's why it takes less time at the equator and more time further north or further south. But I kind of just don't like it. I mean, I could continue with the startup process and then come back to this. I just prefer, like, normally you're not taking over a cold and dark plane. Normally you're taking it over from another crew where you wouldn't have to sit and wait for that. So, and again, we could do other things and come back to this, but I just prefer to get it out of the way. So we change it to the less realistic 30-second alignment process, and now we can go ahead and pop that over into nav mode and turn on the yaw damper. It'll flash until we get the FMC position oriented, but I don't worry too much about that. We'll just get there when we get there. Alright, we did receive the auto ATC message, so we do have our squawk code 4631, but we don't have any other information. Let's see if we can get a METAR observation here from where are we? PAKT. Wind is calm, so we can depart either direction, so that means we'll depart north and west, because that'll just be more on course than departing south and then having to kind of do a 180, so we'll depart north and west. So wind is calm, 10 statute miles, temperature 2.4, so very humid, right? 100% humid, relative humidity when the temperature and dew point are the same. 3020 is the altimeter. We'll get that set and cross-referenced with the field elevation. I guess while we're over there, since we don't have any VATSIM air traffic control here, the other thing we can do is pull a CTAF for PAKT 123.6, so that's the frequency we'll start transmitting and receiving on as far as our movement around the airport. But then we will go to the general advisory's frequency of 22.8 after we get out of the immediate airport area. So 22.8 there, and what did we just say? 23.6. And yes, and we don't need to do anything with I mean, technically, I guess we should monitor guard 21.5 on COM2, so we'll do that. Sometimes there's shenanigans going on in that frequency, and just turn it off if that's the case. We'll monitor it if we can, but if we can't, then that's not a big deal. VPilot reflecting that as we intended? Yeah, seems to be. Okay, what was the altimeter? 3004, I think. No, 3020. 3020. So let's get that set, and then we'll check the field elevation, which is 92 feet, and that's pretty close to what we're showing on the gauge, so that's good. We'll go ahead and consider that a successful cross check, and then let's go ahead and get the route information program into the box. So let's go to the FMC itself. We'll go to position initialize. This is the last known position, but if we go to the next page, we can pull. We got a left and right GPS, and we can just pull one of the. Fortunately, they're the same, but sometimes they're a tenth off from each other. I'm like, how can GPSs be off from each other? But apparently they are sometimes. So we'll just slug that into our current position, and then we're good to go with that. Pop over here. Let's get the route programmed in. We're going from PAKT, and then we're going to PASI. I wonder if we go into the departures and arrivals, it is possible that that proprietary departure, the UDENE3, might be in here. No, it's not. Okay. Well, you know, I had a flash of a dream for just a moment. So we're not going to go to this point doozy. I mean, if we did, let's just plot that DOZI and then UDENE. Would it even make sense? Yeah, we could do that actually. So we could go scowl to the doozy and then UDENE J175 FLIPS. Yeah, so that'll be the safe way, right? Because that'll take us on this 295 outbound to the intercepted Victor 317 and then up to doozy. So that'll just be, you know, kind of a more guaranteed safe path in terms of obstacle and terrain clearance. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and select that departure. It's called the Scowl 2. Scowl 2, there's no transition that it goes to doozy no matter what, and that's off of runway 29. Yeah, so we're going to take off to the west. Let's put that in the route. Let's go to the next page. Let's just go from that point. We'll go to flips. Nope, just one S there. And then it's the J195. Where's the J? Kind of next to the K, usually. J195 to, what did I say? Flips. Oh, no, it's not. Shoot, I'm messing up here. UDENE is the one we're going to. UDENE and then flips. UDENE there. Let's delete that. And then it's J195 there, 2 flips. Okay, there we go. And then once we're making our way into Sitka, let's just put a approach procedure in, even if we end up having to change it. 3304, so it looks like this northwestern bound approach is going to be we don't have an approach to the northwest bound runway. We got an RNAV GPS Bravo, and that just comes in sideways, right? So it seems like regardless, let's just do the LDA at a 1-1 then. And so that actually comes off of the point Cluck, which is where? Is that on our route somewhere? Oh, it's way up here. Well, we'll vector ourselves if it comes to that, but well, then instead of going to flips, let's just go to BKA. And then we'll put this in just to kind of know what it's going to look like for us. But we'll just vector ourselves to a smoother intercept there. Really to Hexab, right? Not really to Cluck. Hexab? Okay, so we wouldn't have to go quite so far out. But anyway, yeah, so let's just say the LDA 11 is what we're going to end up doing. So let's delete that and now delete. Okay, well let's just put in let's just put in a continuation of J195. Just delete the whole line. Okay, there we go. So I was trying to delete it from the right line select. It didn't want that. It wanted me to delete it from the left line select, but it's all good there. So what's the point? The BKA. And then let's go departures and arrivals into PASI. No stars. We're just going to do the LDA 11 from BKA, and we'll put that into the route, and we'll activate it, and we'll execute it. Let's go to performance. Cost index is 74 because why not? Reserves is going to be 5.4 because our alternate is just going to be Juneau. In case we need to get there. Zero fuel weight, we'll double click, it'll auto-populate. What is saying 240? I had filed 260, so I guess we're going to go 240 then. If we ran some numbers and decided that we could safely take off and climb at a lower thrust level, then we should do that to save some wear and tear on the engines and save some fuel. I expect that because we're going to be so performance limited in terms of obstacles and terrain, we're just going to leave that as fully rated takeoff and climb power. So I never really deal with that, but a real airline captain obviously would be duty bound to run those numbers and lower these ratings if it was safe to do so. But given our concern about terrain and obstacle clearance, I think we're going to just leave that as full rated today, regardless. Alright, flaps 5, center of gravity will auto-populate, we'll double-click. Trim's going to be 6.9. We have any safety critical items occur prior to reaching 130, we'll abort. If we exceed 130, we're taking all our problems airborne with us. If we have one good engine, we're going to rotate at 133. If we have one good engine at that point, we'll pitch to maintain 140. If we have two good engines at that point, we'll pitch to maintain 160, and then we'll retract flaps at 1,000. JJ says the iFly Max 8 D-rate is my friend because it climbs like a rocket. Yeah, and I used to do that in the 787 when we were doing short hops in the 7.8. I would do D-rates. Long haul in the 7.8, like across the pond, you can use a normal thrust. But if you're only loaded for 2 hours of fuel, 2.5 hours of fuel in the 7.8, it kind of does the same thing. But yeah, here, because we're so concerned about performance, we'll let it climb at fully rated power. So while that's done, let us go into the legs page and we'll pick up the we don't have a runway. We don't have a runway waypoint, but that's okay. We can go into the fixed page and we'll just put the airport in as the situational awareness fix. We'll put a 4 and 10 mile ring around it. That way we'll have some guidelines as to when we should be starting to configure for arrival and when we should be fully configured for arrival. We got the FMC. Let's go ahead and get up to the mode control panel. So what do we say? The 140. So we're going to set that to 160. The initial altitude. This is an obstacle departure, so there isn't really an initial altitude that we have to level off at. I'm just going to leave that at 10,000 then. Obviously, there's no ATC on to give us an altitude limit. And then once we get up to this point doozy, we'll clear ourselves up to our cruise of 240. The initial heading, 295. Even though we're going to start in LNAV mode. We got those all set. Let's get auto throttle, flight director, and we are going to start in LNAV and VNAV. Auto brake is going to set to RTO for now. Okay, yeah, I'm going to leave that map range down just a little bit so we can kind of watch our progress in terms of those initial points. Let's get traffic and data on. I'm also going to get terrain. I'm going to put on the captain's side for departure. We'll put the weather on the first officer side, but we'll get those rolling once we've pushed back. We need to get going here. And then on the transponder, what was it? 4631 was the transponder. Alright, let's get down here and get all the doors closed. Cargo and equipment hatches closed. Come up top. We'll get the, whoops, come on. Seatbelt signs. Yeah, seatbelt signs on. Wheel well light can come off. We're going to westbound, so we'll set that to the left. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, hold on. I'm skipping stuff. So we're just going to do the left inner for now. Let's get the APU on and started. So we got hatches and doors, seatbelt signs on, left inner fuel pump on, APU, parking brake. Let's make sure that's set. Window heat can come on. Pressurization, we set 240. Landing altimeter, landing altitude is 50. APU buses can come on once the APUs finish powering up. Yeah, almost caught me skipping a whole checklist here. Not like I've never done that before in this aircraft. Okay, so now we got APU electricity on, APU bleed on, valve is open, and we can get packs on. Okay, now we're supplying our own electricity and our own air conditioning now, so that's good. Now we can come down here, disconnect the ground power and the wheel chocks, and I did confirm that the parking brake was set before I did that. And then let's do a real quick briefing. Greetings from the flight deck and welcome aboard Alaska Airlines Flight 514 with service to Sitka. We're going to be pushing back to the gate here momentarily, expecting an on-time departure with the wheels up occurring right around quarter till the hour. If we're 10 till the hour, that'll be close enough. It's a short flight to Sitka, about 35 minutes in the air, and we'll be cruising for you at 24,000 feet. Weather is overcast. We've got some low overcast and precipitation throughout the region. Of course, there's always very challenging weather in this region, so we expect nothing but the same today. So we do ask that you make sure those seatbelts are fastened nice and tight, as we do expect some bumps as we climb up and make it to our cruise altitude for you. Hopefully nice and smooth once we get through the cloud layers. But again, it's a rather short flight, so we'll be descending right back through it, too, once we get closer up to Sitka. And we'll give you an update on the weather situation there once we start that descent. Thanks again for flying with us on Alaska Airlines Flight 514 service to Sitka. We'll be underway shortly. Anti-collision light can go on. Wheel well light off. Do the igniter. The rest of the fuel pumps can come on. Do we have any in the center? I don't think we do. Oh, we have a little bit in the center. Tiny little bit in the center. So we get those on as well. The hydraulic pumps, electric hydraulic pumps can come on. Let's go ahead and get our pushback underway. Just pushing straight back here. Get that requested. We're 24. I know I filed 26, but then the FMC told us that 24 was going to be our max, so amended after filed. Okay, nobody else coming, but just to be courteous, since we are pushing onto a taxiway here. Do we have a taxi diagram at Sitka, or Ketchikan rather? Yeah, we do. So we can say, yeah, we're pushing on to Bravo, or Alpha. Taxiing the 29er, we'll just call it Alpha. I mean, obviously this is all the ramp, but we'll call it Alpha since we're going that way. Okay, we'll start with the number 2. Pack off, ground start on. We get up to about 20%, we'll get the fuel in. Ketchikan traffic, Alaska 514, Boeing 737 pushing back onto Alpha from the main terminal. Ketchikan. Alright, number 2 is started and stable. We'll get the pack back on. And generator on. Left hand pack off, left hand ground start going. Since no air traffic controller has touched my flight plan, I should... Well, no, it's not. Not pulling it in. We'll just leave it. If a controller comes on, we'll just let them know that we decided to cap at 240 rather than 260. Oh, let's get fuel in. There it goes. We got Chatty Games hitting the follow button. Welcome. Good to see you. Get to watch us crash and die up here in Alaska. It should be an exciting stream. Might be a short stream, but it should be an exciting one. Alright, so that's done. Pack back on. Generator on. The engine bleeds are already switched on, so we'll get the APU bleed off, ISO valve off, and we already got the electricity switched over so the APU can come off as well. Chatty Games, how do you unlock all the controls in the aircraft? Well, I mean, that's a pretty vague question. I really recommend that you look for an aircraft tutorial rather than, you know, I mean, I'm trying to perform a couple flights here, so. Alright, control surface is checked. Flaps 5 set. Trim we said was 6.9, let's get that set. So, almost 7. Almost 7. West Virginia. We got probe heat on. Let's release the parking brake. Yeah, that's I want to release. Let's get ahead. Have to go pull the pushback back up. Release it that way. There we go. Alright. And let's do a configuration check. I'm going to throttle up just a little bit. We don't hear any kind of warnings or anything. We should be good to go. Ketchikan traffic, Alaska 514, Boeing 737, taxiing out to runway 29er. For IFR westbound departure, Ketchikan. Okay, here we go. Since we're pulling away from the ramp, and we can do a taxi light here. Since we're pulling away from the ramp, let's go ahead and get the terrain radar on the captain's side. We get the weather radar on the first officer's side. Did that come on? Yeah, it did. Minimum departure fuel for this leg is 9,400, and we've got plenty because we're stocked up for legs 1 and 2, so we're good there. Let's go ahead and, if once we get up to the hold short, we would want to go ahead and get TA and RA on. I'm just going to do that now. We're not that far from the whole short line anyway. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and alert our cabin crew that we're going to be number 1 for departure when we get up there. Where's that button? There it is. Alright, we will say that they have reported they are secure and ready for departure. We'll get the continuous ignition on. Comm radios are set. We'll do a check of engine parameters and lights. Oh, looks like we're going to get 10 points for running over the ground car here. Should we pull off and do a run-up over here? Ketchikan traffic, Alaska 514 is departing runway 29er for the IFR northwestbound departure, Ketchikan. Alright, rest of the forward-facing lights are all coming on. We've got the continuous ignition on already. These flashers can go to strobe. And we would run the engines up to about 40% and check for vibrations and such, but when I pull the throttles back to idle after that, it always kicks the auto throttle off, so we'll just pretend that we've done that. We will just go ahead and go straight to Toga once we're aligned. And I found out that the Toga button on my throttle just literally stopped working. The reason that hasn't been working lately is a hardware failure, not a software failure. Alright, friends, here we go. Love the Boris audio pack sounds, by the way. A little bit of forward pressure on the yoke is going to pin that nose wheel down until we get to 80.
80 knots.
And there we go, we can release that.
V1, rotate.
We're rotating. We'll pitch to the 160.
Positive rate.
Okay, gear coming up. Definitely want to get the 1,000 under us. Nice high terrain here, so we don't want to skimp on altitude. Okay, we are through 1,000. Autopilot on. Flaps coming in. And it's starting the acceleration now. Yeah, we're up to 2,500 already. It kept, because of this departure procedure, it kept a pretty good climb going. Alright, post-departure, we get the continuous ignitions off. We can center the gear handle and turn off the auto brake. Glance at the terrain radar says we seem to be okay here. Ketchikan traffic, Alaska 514 clear, runway 29er, climbing out 4,000 for 10,000 on the IFR westbound departure at Ketchikan. Alright, so we can go ahead and clear ourselves up to 240 now. Just double check, yeah, there's still no air traffic control on to tell us otherwise. And we're busting through the cloud layer. Good. And got airborne, yeah, just about 7:50 Eastern time, so not too bad at all. Are the 700 sounds a bit more muffled? It might just be I turned them down slightly in the mix already because I was having trouble hearing air traffic control. So that might be why. Yeah, I've got the Alpha and the Bravo, JJ. Alright, continuous ignition, flaps and gear, auto brake disarmed, and we are good to go. Coming up through 10, we're almost at 10. Let's go ahead and do a cabin pressurization check. Pop up top here. Cabin climbing at a normal altitude. Yeah, it's just barely started climbing in the differential pressure. I always like to say at 10,000 it should be about a third of the way up. 18 it should be about 2/3 of the way up, and at cruise it should be the rest of the way up. So we're good to go so far. Cabin altitude sitting about 1,000 and climbing at a normal rate. We're coming up through 10. Alert the cabin crew, forward facing lights can come off. Okay, so the departure went fine. That's good news. Oh, we're halfway there. Technically speaking, I guess we should be monitoring the en route advisory rather than the local advisory now. So we'll flip it over to 22.8. But again, if we start to have shenanigans on that, we'll drop the audio out of the stream. And speaking of which, what's the frequency for Sitka? Oh, also 23.6. Oh, good. Well, we're already preset then. Must be an actual pilot? No, I am not. I have just pursue this hobby obsessively as I have for over 40 years now. The last 15 of those, coming up on 16 of those on VATSIM. Chalia says, well, that explains it. I just got into it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lifelong commitment to learning. That's what it is. You will never get to a point where you know everything. The day you stop learning in aviation is the day you crash. So this is Ketchikan. We're done with that. Done with the departure. This is the. I don't think we even have an airport diagram. Yeah. So the only airport diagram we have is the one here on the approach plate, so good there. So from Bjorka Island we could, yeah, so I think we'll probably just vector ourselves, but we'll follow something that kind of resembles this path here. Oh, actually, no, well, what did we program? We programmed in the approach with Bjorka Island as the initial fix, so it is going to take us right up there. Koyig, Jetit, Isili. Let's double check and make sure that that's what's in the route that we put in. And we're coming up through 18, by the way. We can flip over to standard. Let's do another pressure check. All right, cabin altitude still climbing at a normal rate, and showing about 2,500, and a differential, like I said, is about 2/3 up. So, yep, everything's normal so far. So let's, yeah, and we can probably zoom the map out a little bit. We don't need to be so tight in. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it was a fairly short flight, like I said. So we'll, anytime the map gets cluttered, I just zoom it out one level. Let's double check and make sure exactly what I did put in after BKA. Yeah, so it should be Koyuk, and then 55, and then Jedit, and then still 55, and then Isili, and then 36, and then Hexab. So let's kind of spin through the Koyuk at 55, Jedit at 55,
all ball bearings nowadays.
Isili at 55, Hexab at 36, and then the approach. Okay, yeah, so that's what we did put into the box. So we are going to be doing this. It's essentially a right downwind, right? It's almost a visual right downwind pattern. Melvin Leroy has stopped into the chat. How are you, Melvin? We're going to do our best not to crash a plane in Alaska today. Glad you could join us. Yeah, Charlie has got to get used to all the buttons. Well, yeah, and of course there's no rule that says you have to start in a airliner, right? You can start in something simpler. Matter of fact, we do a lot of general aviation flying on this stream. This is not an airliner-centric stream normally. Yeah, we do a mix of flying. So general aviation aircraft at single engine piston or twin piston, those are obviously going to be simpler to get started on. And the beauty of flying smaller airplanes is that you can go to a wider variety of places. That's what we love about this stream. And we've done some streams where we take a single engine piston plane and we follow a river, just start to finish, follow the river all the way down, and we just land at every private, public, grass, gravel, dirt, airstrip that we find along the way. That's obviously not something you can do in an airliner. So flying something smaller just opens up more possibilities. Charlie says, I'm going to do a short flight Vancouver to BC. I mean Cancun. Okay, well, Cancun, Mexico, not necessarily a short flight from Vancouver. But yeah, no, I do my best to talk through the procedures as I do them so that you have some sense of what I'm doing and why. But in terms of just like, hey, explain all the buttons to me, this is not what the stream's about. We're going to perform a flight. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing as I do it. So hopefully it'll be a good learning experience for you. But yeah, really there's no substitute for learning the aircraft from a proper tutorial and as they say, RTFM, right? Read the fantastic manual. Alright, we're up at cruise. Let's get the seatbelt signs off. Pressure check. Cabin altitude is leveling off at about 3. Differential pressure is well within normal limits. All good. Wait, these come with manuals? I know. Who knew, right, Carter? Good to see you. Guess I got to start reading the instructions. For something this complex, Charlie, yes, you do. Because if you're going to expect, a stream chat to solve all your problems on the way, or a Discord chat to solve all your problems on the way, or worst case, asking air traffic control to try and solve all your problems on the way, that's not the way to go about it. Not the way to go about it. Thought it would be easy, not this complicated, right? Well, it now gives you some appreciation as to what real airline pilots really do, huh? And even so, what we're doing is way watered down even from what they're doing. So what they're doing is just way more rigorous and complex than even we're making it. Carter says, you being on made me realize I needed to set up my yoke and throttles. Well, eventually, yeah, if you want to fly. All right, let's let the cabin know what's going on. Greetings from the flight deck with an update. We've reached our cruise altitude, 24,000 feet. We've turned off the fasten seatbelt signs. We did, in fact, get airborne just about 5 minutes from our scheduled departure time, but we're going to go ahead and call that on time at 10 minutes till the hour. The cabin crew is going to come around with a fine selection of Red Bull products and baked Alaska. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, and we'll give you an update on the weather situation in Sitka once we start our descent there. Thanks again for flying along with us on Alaska Airlines. And we're 60 miles from top of descent. So let's go ahead and start that briefing. 340 at 4. However, the preferred approach is definitely 1-1. So it is going to be a 4-knot tailwind. However, we are going to go ahead and accept that because coming into Sitka from the 1-1 direction is just easier. And trust me, I'm going to need it to be as easy as I can get it to be. Alright, so the altimeter there, 3022. We will get that dialed in here. The LDA, it's 108.9 is the frequency. We'll get that tuned in down here. 108.9er, we'll flip that over. Final approach course is 116. So we'll get that tuned up here. If we do have to go missed, it is 113.8, and it's the 012, but we'll be coming into it from the north, so it's going to be the 19-2. So 113.8 and 19-2 is what we'll set if we have to go missed. Okay, that's set the minimums for that approach. What was the weather situation there? 10 statute miles broken at 4,700. Well, that's good news. If that holds up, we should be well below the cloud bases by the time we make the turn and start joining final. So hopefully that will hold up. It is straight to 6 and then right to 55 if we go missed. If we make it down successfully, it'll be a back taxi and then a turn off to the right. Terminals to our left as we arrive, but we'll definitely need at least that much. Back taxi and turn off to the right. Because we are going to need the back taxi, we want to minimize our time on the runway. We do want to set the auto brake. I don't know if we're going to set it to the max, but we can set it pretty aggressively there at a 3. We got a warning about fuel. That just means that our center tanks are finally done, so we can just turn the center tank fuel pumps off. No problem there. That should clear that warning right up, and we're good. That's approach frequency and course set, missed approach frequency and course set, missed approach altitude, 6 and 55, FMC reviewed, and the range rings were set. V speeds, let's go ahead and get that dialed in. Tim Dog is here. What's going on? 139 is going to be our VREF speed. And with the winds, so it's going to be 144 as our V approach. So 144 and 139 be our approach and ref speeds respectively. Hello, Tim Dog says. Temperature there, 6. So what do we got? Partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy skies. Got it broken there. So mostly cloudy skies. Temperature is 6, which is in the mid-40s. With very light winds. Spotty precipitation in the area, but nothing reported at the airport right now. Alright, let's go through that approach briefing one more time. Frequency and course set, missed approach frequency and course set. Missed approach, altitude, straight to 6, right to 55. The FMC legs were checked. I didn't check the mist. I'm assuming it's fine, but let's just double check. Next page. And the whole, yeah, straight to 6, right to 50, yeah, straight to 6, right to 55. So that's all correct in there. We got the range ring set. Minimums we did, what did we say the minimums were? Minimums 520, which we should be fine with the overcast of 48 something, but we do want to set the minimums in here for the alerter. Okay. So minimum set, ceiling and visibility reviewed. Wind, we said was a very, very slight tailwind. Turn off is going to be a back taxi and then a right. Auto brake, we said, was fairly robust auto brake. And then the spoilers will arm once we get closer in. I might want to change that into my my short final flow. But auto brakes are armed, but the spoiler will arm once we're sure we don't need the spoilers for the descent here. All right, we're 10 miles from top of descent. Let's go ahead and get the seatbelt signs turned back on. Greetings from the flight deck with an update. We've turned the seatbelt signs back on. We ask that you return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts as we are just about to start our descent into Sitka. The cabin crew will come around one final time to collect trash and take care of any last-minute needs. The weather at Sitka is showing mostly cloudy skies with a very light wind and low 40s for a temperature. We do expect to be on the ground in about 25 minutes, and we thank you again for flying along with us on Alaska Airlines. Then we're going to need to go ahead and clear ourselves down. So I still got the selector at 24. What are we clearing ourselves down to? It's not like a descend via the arrival kind of situation. We're going to join the final approach course at 3600. So, matter of fact, let's just make sure we get it all the way down to 1800 before we arm approach. Well, let's get it down to 1800 so that at the very latest we'll be arming approach mode by the final approach fix. And then we'll set that back up to 55 for the missed approach. Okay, we have started the descent. Let's monitor how it does with the path as well as with the speed, and let's see if we're going to need to give it a little bit of drag help here. It's below the path, so it should be fine for the moment. Yeah, and if we're nervous about the, I mean, it's going to slow us down, obviously. It's going to get us to 240 by the time we get to Koyeg, and 223 at Hexab. Yeah, I think we should be slower than that. So I will be manually intervening the speed. Basically, once we get on this right downwind, once we get past Bjorka Island and we're on this right downwind, I'm going to probably slow us down 210 at the most, and then probably 170 as we come around. We've got a real good view on the nav display of what we're doing now. Weather's looking good. Terrain, obviously, there's some in the area. I mean, we can see from the approach plate, right? As we come in from over the water, the terrain is all off to our left. So if we get in trouble for whatever reason, we're bailing out to the right here over the water. All right, coming down through 18, we can go ahead and get back into a local altimeter. Of course, that changes the adherence to the descent path a little bit there. Looks like it's catching up just fine, though. Still keeping the speed reasonable without us having to intervene, so we're good. Since we're, 20 miles from the airport, I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the local frequency there, 123.6. And it's Sitka. And 123.6 is the common traffic advisory frequency. Which, interestingly, was the same frequency at Ketchikan. Saved us a step. So what do we say? And of course, it might not have us at 55 at Bjorka, right? This is all at or above. We don't really have to be. We can keep 5,500 all the way to Isili, so it probably has us descending still through this area and then hitting 55 right there at Isili. So it still seems like we're kind of high, even though we're just about to join this right downwind, but we've still got all the way up to Isili before we need to be at 55. So we're good. We're good. Getting ready to come down through 10,000. A little early for this, but we'll go ahead and get all the forward-facing lights on. I usually save the taxi light until we get landing clearance, but we don't have anyone to give us landing clearance today, so we'll just go ahead and get that on now. Let's go ahead and get the cabin crew alerted. Continuous ignition on. Since it doesn't seem like, well, I'm not gonna, yeah, let's not arm the spoiler yet. Yeah, so we're passing that VOR. It's already slowing us down. I want to slow us down even more than it wants to slow us down. I'm going to put us down at 210. So it should get us below 250 before it descends us below 10. But just to help it out, I'm going to go ahead and throw some spoiler in, and then once we get down to our desired speed, I think we'll be okay. We can even start putting a little bit of flap out at that point if we want to, just to be ready to have that drag. Okay, below 250. Okay, the plane is now starting to descend. We're still going to let it come down to 210. We are below flap deployment speed now, so we can put flaps out. But I don't think we need to have that much extra drag on the plane just yet. It does look like it's doing fine in terms of the descent. Although I'm not sure that I believe that. We've only got this part here to get down to 55. All right, let's make a traffic call, shall we? Sitka traffic, Alaska 514's a 737-700 on high right downwind. We're joining the transition from Bjorka Island to the LDA 11 Sitka. Probably should have given the altitude there too, but that's okay. There's really nobody else around. Alright, it is happy with how it's adhering to its desired descent path. I'm still concerned that we're a little high, but we do have these 2 more points before we need to be down at 55 and descending further, and we only got 3,000 feet to lose there, so I guess we're fine. When we get to these challenging approaches, you know, any kind of excess altitude or speed makes me nervous. And just to help it, you know, let's, so we can extend gear at 270, flaps 1, 2, and 5 are all at 250, so. Yeah, we'll go ahead and throw the gear out once we are, you know, kind of descending on glide slope. But at the very least, let's go ahead and get some flaps out, get a little bit of drag going. And what did I say? I did want to, once we get on this intercept path, I do want to get it down to about 170. Below 210, we can go flaps 10. Actually, below 195, we can go flaps 15. Meantime, you guys can start putting some predictions into the chat as far as the vertical descent rate when the wheels touch runway surface in terms of feet per minute. There's no bot command for that. Just a number into the chat, positive or negative. We know that you mean a descent rate either way. And the closest predictor gets an automatic entry into our landing rate raffle, which we will, yeah, we're fine. We'll get the gear out. I don't want it to yell at us. Landing rate raffle, which we will pull next on New Year's Day. January 1st will be the next time we pull the landing rate raffle. And it's a bi-monthly raffle for now, and then at that point we'll be going back to it being a monthly raffle. Alright, Hexab is just outside of 10 mile final, so that's how we'll call Sitka traffic when we make our next call. Alright, I get situated near my rudder pedals. Let me make sure no dogs are about to get tangled in the headphone cord. It's a common problem here on this channel. Go ahead and get those spoilers armed. Don't need them at this point. Shore is in. Has hit the follow. Thank you kindly. We appreciate it. Go ahead and get a guess in for the descent rate if you haven't already. All right, and then go ahead and get approach mode set. does say that it is on the glide path now. With that indicator, we can go ahead and set the missed approach of 55. And we'll keep the 170 to, oh sorry, I didn't mean to smack the mic. Keep the 170 to 5 mile final. Sitka traffic, Alaska 514, Boeing 737, just turning about onto a, we'll call it an 11 mile final, runway 11, Sitka. Okay. Paths are coming in. Is that a runway right there on that tiny little island? Oh, wow. Yeah, I feel, Melvin, I feel like we've been here before, right? We used to do some Bush League backcountry flying in this area. So it seems vaguely familiar. It's been a while since we've been up this way. Alright, let me match the throttles. Where's the attend button? Alright, cabin crews alerted, gears down in green. We do need to get landing flaps. Missed approaches straight to 6, right to 55. Back taxi on the right if we make it down successfully. Forward facing lights all on.
2500.
Heaven help us, friends. My aircraft. Let's go. So landing checks are complete, except we do need landing flaps, which we will set once we get within 5 miles. We have a little bit of a right to left, sorry, a left to right crosswind. Get over this hill. I am going to get over onto the actual center line rather than the instrument center line, just to get us nice and lined up. We're going to have complete good visual with the runway at this point. Alright, let's go ahead and set our VIA approach at 144. VREF's 139. Gears down a green, landing flap set and checked. Missed approach is straight to 6, right to 55. Back taxi if we make it down successfully. Landing checks are complete. Heaven help us. Oh, we're way slow. Not paying attention. There we are. Alright, last call for the predictions, friends.
Approaching minimums.
We are landing.
500. Minimums. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Pretty happy with it. Slightly late flare, but I was pretty happy with it. Oh, it registered. Registered as a firm touchdown. But I was happy with it. We can cancel the reversers, a little bit of manual braking. Sitka traffic in Alaska 514 737 is down and back taxiing runway 11 Sitka. Yeah, the flare was slightly late. Slightly late or slightly slow, one or the other, maybe both. So it registered as a little bit of a firm touchdown. However, overall, like, I was pleased with the execution. Got the speed got a little slow. I was kind of slow to react to that, but once I did, I felt like we were pretty good as far as the adherence to the numbers. And we'll do the cleanup flow once we get off of the runway. I'll tell you one thing I'm going to do early is get the APU on and started. Get the radars off. Okay, so yeah, like I said, firm on the wheels, but otherwise good. One for two, guys. 1 for 2. Weather and terrain radar off. We can reset the minimums. Flight directors can come off. Flaps can be stowed. Spoilers can be stowed. Lights can be turned off. We'll leave the taxi light on. Those can go back into steady. Continuous ignition can be turned off as well. And the probe heats can come off. Windshield heat can also come off. What else? TARA can come back into regular old transponder mode. And auto brake can be canceled. What did I miss? Did I get everything? Let's look. Flaps and spoilers. Probe heat, windshield heat, continuous ignition, weather, terrain radar, flight directors, auto brake, minimums, transponder, lights, and APU. Alright, we're good. Yeah, the milk made it down safe. It registered firm. It did. So the flare I could have done a little earlier and or more aggressively. But I felt that our adherence to the paths and speeds were all decent. You know, like I said, let the speed get down early, corrected it though, and then from there on we were okay. I get a B-. Taxi light can come off since we're turning onto the ramp. Sitka traffic, Alaska 514 is now clear, runway 11. Hold on, Sitka. Forgot to call clear once we got off there. In case there's anybody out there holding, waiting for that call, they've now got it. I don't think there's anybody. I don't think there's anybody floating around here. But might as well do things right. Obviously, it's a default scenery, so it's not going to align perfectly with the gate. We'll just pull up as much as we feel comfortable with. And then we'll go ahead and get the parking brakes set. Taxi light was turned off. Alright, let's start the turnaround flow, guys. APU buses can be turned on. The APU bleed can be turned on. ISO valve can be turned on. We'll go ahead and get the engine shut down. We can get the fuel pumps off, except we'll leave one on for the APU. The hydraulic pumps can come off. PAKs can come off because we're about to connect ground AC anyway. Anti-collision light can come off. The wheel well lights can come on. Seatbelt signs can come off. And chime can come off. Let's get down here into the menu and get some ground services going. We'll get the wheel chocks set, and then we'll get ground power and ground AC on the way. Let's get all the doors and hatches open. Transponder can be set back to standby mode. Why is that not changing? I think I bumped something.
TCAS test passed.
Oh, okay. So now that the TCAS test is done, yeah, see, I think I bumped the TCAS test multiple times, so it may do that a few times. And it's not going to let me change that mode until it's done. Okay, that's fine, so we'll just leave that. You can let me change it now or not? No? Okay, doke, no problem. Turn mode C off through the client. No, can't. Oh, now it's doing it. Okay, good. TCAS test is done, and it's letting me do that now. All right, good. Back up top. What do we need to do now? We can get the ground power connected to the plane. So we got power, we got ground AC, we got the pumps off already. We can shut the APU off. ISO valve and APU bleed off. Left inner fuel pump off. And then let's get to our predictions. I will start with my prediction in terms of the fuel and the flight time, and then we'll look at your predictions in terms of the descent rate. I will already tell you, expect that the highest guesser is getting an entry, guys. Unless somebody put in something crazy. We expected we would be down at 8:25, and we took a little bit longer, 8:35. Of course, we were 5 minutes late getting up, and then now we're 5 minutes late. In addition to that, so a 10-minute delay total, 9-minute delay total, really. 16.6 is what we should have left in the tank. And, we burned a little more than I expected, 15.7. So 900 pounds short. 9 minutes late, 900 pounds short. Okay, well, we'll be okay for leg number 2, though. Let us get back to the flow list, but before we do anything else, let's take a peek at the numbers that you guys put in, and we'll see how far below the actual you guys were in your predictions. Again, I felt that the execution was good, but if anything, my flare was maybe just a little bit late. And wound up registering at 327. I don't know. I didn't feel it was that firm, but that's the number that came up. And again, my satisfaction comes from overall execution, not just that number. But the number's part of the game. So, who had the highest guess, by the way? 122, 181, 170, 190, 143, 199, 210 is going to be Quallip. Is going to take our first entry at PA. No, we're not at KT. Where are we? PASI. PAKT is where we took off from. We landed at PASI on 11/26. All right, one down, one to go, friends. We're going to head on up to Cordova, Mudhole Smith, or something along those lines. It's got one of those fun names. But Cordova, Alaska, leg number 2. I'm going to get a few things done. We're at the very least, we get the flight plan filed on the network, and then a brief intermission before we get underway. Just a little bit of a liquid recycling break to take, but not too long. ASA 514, we're a B737. It's a medium. SBDF GHIRWY and an L. Departing from PASI. Off block, we're going to say top of the hour, right? Oh, 200. We can do that. 20 minutes. We can do it. 36,000 feet for this one. 480. Arrival PACV. Alternates Anchorage. En route 1 hour 12. And fuel endurance left in tank, so 304 at this point. This is a route we came up with, and Alaska does not actually fly this leg, so we had to come up with that one on our own. I'll show you in SkyVector what it looks like. Performance there is a Charlie. We're B1, C1, D1, S2, T1. Performance of Charlie, and we'll just throw the live stream link here. And we'll get that file. May hear the beep 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 if we if the auto ATC in the virtual US airspace recognizes that we don't have any air traffic control. We may get that auto ATC message over the private message from the pilot client. Doesn't sound like we have, but we can check. Yeah, it looks like we've got it into the network, and 3533 is going to be our assigned squawk, so we'll go ahead and put that in. Alright, sounds good. So let's get a quick break out of the cockpit going for a little liquid recycling, and we will be back with you for leg number. Actually, let's face this way in case anybody else makes their way in to runway 11 here at Sitka. But yeah, let's take a brief break for some liquid recycling. We'll be back with leg number 2 here. We got lots of flying left to do for you, friends, so sit tight. Thank you for joining us for it here on the Slant Alpha Adventures channel, doing a little Alaska challenge. And we'll get back to it in just a minute. Alright, we are back. Thank you very kindly for your patience. Let's get underway here with leg number 2 of our Alaska Challenge. We are here at Sitka, Alaska. Didn't do too bad a job. Registered the landing that was slightly firm on the metrics, but I felt like the overall execution of the approach and touchdown was pretty good. B-, as I said, prior to the intermission. But let's continue on for leg number 2, heading up to Cordova. And I did say I was going to put the route into SkyVector and show you what it looked like. So let's do that. Did I copy it still? Yeah, so let's go in PASI. No, PASI rather. Going to PACV. It is the Sitka 1, which I'll show you, going to Sisters Island, VOR, and then we're going to join the J541 over Yakutat, place that we've done a lot of bush flying there. We did Glacier Rescue there, if I recall, Melvin. And then we were going to continue J501 west to Katat, and then we're going to join the approach into Mudhole Smith. Looks like we do have some precipitation moving through that area. Which way is it trending? Is it still going to be there? Yeah, it looks like this whole line is going to come right over Cordova as we make our way up. So expecting to be a little bit of a dicey arrival at Mudhole Smith in Cordova because of potential weather complications there. Alright, so it should be a fun one. Let's go ahead and get to it. Stanley 44 is here. Quired is here. Welcome, guys. Good to see you. Getting ready to get leg number 2 underway here in our Alaska Challenge this evening. We are on the VATSIM network. There's nobody around us at the moment, but that is fine. We got plenty to plenty to occupy ourselves in terms of distractions. So, all right, let's get to it, friends. We've got we can refresh the ATIS. We wanted to get pushed back starting in 12 minutes. We're going to be cutting that close, but we'll do our best here. We should be pretty close to that, maybe. METAR PASI. So it's the same observation as before. 340 at 410 statute miles, 3022, which obviously I should already have set at this point. So we should be good there. Yep, we do, and so all is well. Comm radios, we already are set to the common traffic advisory with the general advisory frequency and the standby. So we're all set. The field elevation here, 27 feet, and that is pretty close to what's showing on the altimeter. Do I use GSX? No, I just use I use the toolbar pushback, and in terms of the boarding and stuff, I just use the general options that the PMDG comes with, or whatever aircraft that we're using. I'm not into. I don't need all the eye candy in terms of people walking on and all the ground equipment and all that stuff. I mean, PMDG does add a nice little ground cart here, stuff like that. I'm much more into the execution of the procedures and all the little visuals and things like that. So no, I don't. Altimeter set. Let's go ahead and get the route programmed into the proverbial box here. We go into menu and the FMC. Let's put our route is going to be PASI. Wait a minute. There we go. Duh. PACV. I picked up GSX after so many bad pushes. Do you use this toolbar pushback? I've found that's a neat little tool, and it doesn't really do me too wrong most of the time. Tried toolbar, just wasn't working well for you. Oh wow, interesting. I've never had a problem with it. Now I still use the freeware version, not the paid version, so I don't know if maybe that has something to do with it. Anyway, let's go ahead and get the route going here. The departure is going to be the Sitka 1. Do we want it to depart? We don't need the LDA. So we can depart either. If we depart 29, it's going to be that hard right turn to 288. And it really, there's still a 4-knot tailwind, but I think instead of back taxiing the entire way and departing straight out, we can just make that hard right turn over the water, and we'll be fine there. So there'll be the Sitka 1 departure, runway 29. I'm sorry, runway 11, eastbound. So we'll put that into the route. Let's go to the next Mozzie and F, buddy. Sitka 1 SSR, then it's J541. To Yakutat. If we're going to have a little sibling rivalry, I might have to pause here for a second. To J5. Keely, come here, Keely. J501. To Cadet. And then did we talk about the arrival, the approach procedure that we want to look at into Cordova? 09 or 07, so it's an eastbound wind. And yeah, it looks like this is going to be another situation where we really only have... Well, we've got this. So we got, kind of a offset approach RNAV Bravo that we can use as what's going to end up being referred to as a circling approach, and I guess that's going to be the preferred one. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go the RNAV Bravo from belts, since we're going to want an approach that aligns with runway 9. So let's just go ahead and get that programmed in. We may end up changing it. RNAV Bravo to 9er. Is that what I said it was? Yeah, RNAV Bravo to 9er from belts. Oh, from Castle, CASEL, up here. Okay, well, we can do that, and then if we can end up routing ourselves... Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. So from Castle. So that makes sense. So instead of that going to Cadet, let's have that go to Castle. Well, let's just put it in from Castle. That's fine. That'll be good enough. Matter of fact, let's just do it right. Let's do the J501 to Castle. Yeah, I thought so. So let's just delete this whole. Let's delete that. Come on, come on, come on. Not going to be an invalid delete. Alright, forget it. It is actually fine. It's just J501 we're actually taking all the way to Castle, but the leg between Cadet and Castle is the same. So I'm just going to let it go. Technically, I should have amended J501 to Castle and then the approach transition from there, but functionally it's the same, so we'll just go with it. Cost index 74, because why not? Reserves are going to be 6.5 with our alternate of Anchorage. 0 fuel weight will populate in. What did I say for our cruise? It says 379er. I said 360. We'll execute. N1 limits I'm going to leave as fully rated. Takeoff, we're just going to do a standard flaps 5. Center of gravity will auto-populate. 6.75 is going to be our trim, which we'll set here in just a few moments. 137 is our V2. So 127, if we hit 127, with a safety critical issue prior to that, we'll abort the takeoff. If we exceed 127, we'll take those problems airborne with us. We'll rotate at 130, and at that point, if we got 2 good engines, we'll pitch to 157. 1 good engine, we'll pitch to 137. We'll get it to 1,000, retract flaps, and evaluate options. So 137, 157 is therefore what we'll set here. The initial heading we said was going to be this is a right turn to 288. It's an obstacle departure, so it's not going to have like a level off. What's the altitude we need, kind of want to attain by that is, let's see, that's a high altitude. We're going to want to attain 7,000 by the time we get to Sisters Island. So that's what we'll set as our initial. But knowing that we're really just going to clear ourselves straight up to cruise unless somebody pumps on us a controller to tell us differently. Alright, so the airspeed set, heading set, altitude set. Let's get the auto throttle on, flight directors on. We are going to start in heading select mode and VNAV mode. Planned traffic and data is already set. I got a good tactical view here of the... Let's go out one more level here. Okay, I think that's a good tactical view of what we're trying to accomplish. Let's see. Auto brake RTO, and then the 3533 is going to be our transponder. And we'll go ahead and get that on. Alright, supposed to be pushing back here like right now, so we're pretty close though. Let's get back to the menu. Let's get the doors all closed. Let's get the seatbelt signs on. Get the left inner fuel pump on. Let's get the APU on and started. Let's confirm our parking brake is set, and it still is. Let's jump up top, get the window heat on. Pressurization, going to be 36,000. Landing altitude 50 basically, so we got that set. Once the APU is fully spun up, we'll get the electrical buses on, and we'll get the air conditioning switched over, so the APU is providing electricity and AC, and then once we have that, we can go ahead and disconnect from the ground lines here. Okay, we got the APU electricity. Let's get the ISO valve and packs on. Since we're supplying our own power and AC now, we can go to return. Ground services, let's just throw off the lines and remove the wheel trucks. Greetings from the flight deck and welcome aboard Alaska Airlines Flight 514 with service to Cordova. We're going to be pushing back from the gate here momentarily, expecting wheels up 10 after the hour. If we get out airborne quarter after the hour, we'll kind of figure that as close enough to being on time. Flight time once we're airborne, 1 hour, 12 minutes. We'll be cruising at 36,000 feet for you today. Weather, we've got some low overcast here. We do expect that it might be a little bit bumpy as we climb through that, but on our way in we found that we had clear skies above about 10,000 feet, so once we climb through that cloud layer we should find some nice smooth cruising air for you, and expect a mostly smooth flight up to Cordova. We do have some weather there, but we'll update you on that situation once we start our descent. For now, sit back, relax, get the seatbelts tightly fastened for us, and we'll be underway shortly. Thanks again for flying with us on Alaska Airlines Flight 514 service to Cordova. Anti-collision, wheel well light can come off. Let's get the igniter. Yeah, we're westbound, so we'll just leave that on the left side. Fuel pumps, rest can come on. We don't need center ones because we don't have any fuel left in those. Electric hydraulic pumps can come on, and then we will go ahead and get our pushback rocking and rolling here. Just push it back right to here. Sitka traffic, Alaska 514, Boeing 737, pushing back from the terminal onto the main ramp taxiway, Sitka. Let's turn off the right-hand side pack, turn on the right-hand side ground start, and we're getting underway. Pushing back mostly on time here, so doing good in terms of the timing tonight. 20% in, let's get some fuel, and then let's get some fuel into me as well. Okay, we should hear, yeah.
Finger licking good.
We got them cracking open. Good fixes is here as well. Alright, we did hear the starter click back over just now, so we can get lever 2. Generator connected, and the number 1 rocking and rolling here. Let's get the pack back on. Generator on. Left pack off, and left engine turning. So yeah, the Sir Mowgli. This is the little app that we use. It's Ambitious Pilots Toolbar Pushback, and it's available on flightsim.to. Parking brake is reset. Tug disconnected. And this is FlightSim 2020. Yes, I'm planning on switching over to 2024, probably over Christmas and New Year break. Purchased. I was a day one purchaser, and I've been sitting on that for a year, just waiting for people to say that it was stable. Of course, I've been waiting for some of my favorite add-on planes to be available in it as well. All right, get the pack back on, get the generator on. And since we are now supplying electricity and air conditioning from the engines, no longer need to do it with the APU. So we can turn that off and that off and that off. Alright, we'll do a control surface check. Obviously, we will be checking movement of the control surfaces on the outside. Some variants of the 737-700 have a flight control surface monitor, but I don't have that in this option set. And I've looked for it to enable it, and I never have been able to successfully find it. So we'll just say that somebody outside the plane gave us a big thumbs up. All the control surfaces moved as they were supposed to. Takeoff flaps will be 5. We'll get that set. Takeoff trim will be 6.75, so we get that set. So already, yeah, pretty much there. What else, guys? We can get the probe heat on up top, and that should be the last warning. Yep, everything good. We're going to need to go back into the pushback menu. This is the one glitch that we do encounter. We need to go back into the pushback menu to release the parking brake. Now we'll do that. We'll roll the throttles up. We got no bonk, bonk, bonk warnings. We know that everything is fine. Sitka traffic, Alaska 514 Boeing 737 taxiing from the terminal out to runway 11 for an IFR northbound departure. We're going to be on the right downwind. Sitka. Get our taxi light on. Something very briefly bonked at us in terms of a config mismatch, but I guess it's fine. Let's go ahead and get, I think here the terrain is going to be a little bit more important than the weather, so we'll get the terrain radar on my side, we'll get the weather on the first officer side. We can get TA and RA down here. Continuous ignition. Let's alert the cabin. And let's just go ahead and get all the forward-facing lights on now. I miss anything? Minimum departure fuel 12.5. We've got 15.6. We're good. Continuous ignition, I think I did. Yep. Oh, did the cabin come back and say they were secure? They did. Sitka traffic, Alaska 514 Boeing 737 departing runway 11 on the right downwind IFR northbound departure. Sitka. Alright, and again, we would spin the engines up to about 40%, check for any warnings or vibrations, but I always run into issues when I pull the throttles back down after that, so we won't do that. We'll just nod and say we did. And we'll get a line and we'll go right into Toga. Alright, there we go. Oh, auto throttle. Alright, there we go. Toga's now taking effect. Alright, let's push the yoke a little bit forward. We'll pin that nose wheel down to steer until we have rudder authority at 80 knots.
80 knots.
Okay, we can release the forward pressure. Remember, it's an immediate right turn.
V1. Rotate. V2.
Okay, we are rotating.
Brake.
Okay, gear coming up. We're going to pitch to 157. Let's go ahead and start the right turn. We are through 1,000. We'll start flap retraction after we have stabilized the turn. Heading is 288 that we're aiming for. Plane's accelerating, so I need to get the flaps up. Alright, autopilot's got it. We got the flaps retracted. And gear up, okay. Sitka traffic, Alaska 514 is now clear of runway 11 on the right downwind. IFR departure northeastbound. Sitka. And as soon as we intercept that line, we can go ahead and join it. We're still in heading mode for now. We can also go ahead and clear ourselves up to cruise. Still no air traffic control? Yeah. Alright, LNAV 360. And 22.8, hopefully no shenanigans. Post takeoff, continuous ignition can come off. Auto brake can be canceled. Gear handle can be centered. Alright, get a better view of what's going on. I think we're fine with the terrain. I'm going to go ahead and switch. Well, we'll keep the terrain on my side. I'll tell you what, now let's weather off, terrain on, terrain off, weather on. Alright, we're through 10,000. We can alert the cabin crew. Forward-facing lights can all come off. Let's do our first initial check of our cabin pressurization. Cabin is climbing at a normal altitude, still sitting at about 1,000, and the differential pressure should be about 1/3 of the way up for 10,000, 2/3 of the way up for 18, and then right up onto the red mark for cruise. So far, so good. Plane reduced pitch in order to accelerate. Everything happening normally. So far, so good, guys. And Castle is where we're going to, and then Belts. Yep, okay. Well, looks like we've pretty much followed the procedure the way it was designed, so far so good. Sorry, guys. Okie doke. Well, coming up through 18,000 more or less. Let's go ahead and switch over to the standard altimeter. And let's do a second check of the pressurization. We should see the differential pressure about 2/3 of the way up through the range now, and that is indeed what we do see. Cabin altitude's just over 2,000, still climbing at a normal rate. How's our fuel balance looking? A little tiny bit more on the right-hand side. Let us shut the left-hand side off for just a little bit and run that down to more balance. I think that's just because we run the APU. We run the APU out of the left side. So we'll just let that balance out a little bit. Won't take long. Wasn't really that far out of balance, but you know. Alright, let's get those back on. Oh, nailed it. Good. It might not stay perfectly balanced if one's, you know, consuming slightly more than the other, but got it nice and dialed in there, so we're good. Guys, just a little program note for you. Coming up on Friday, it is VATUSA's Light Up America. So we're going to just staff up as much of the U.S. as we can. And ZDC is not assigned positions for that, so it's going to be kind of a game time decision, first come, first serve. My aim is going to be to staff up the Chesapeake sector of Potomac Approach. That would be the sector that surrounds BWI Airport and its satellites. So that's Plan A. Plan B would be Raleigh-Durham Approach. But we'll see where we end up. If both of those are taken, I might just grab a tower at one of those locations. Like maybe grab BWI Tower, and then if the person who beat me to Chesapeake logs off, we'll hop up from there. So it will be kind of a game time decision. Again, positions are not being assigned by ZDC's event staff. It's just going to be kind of first come, first serve and grab what you want. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. But I'll let you know in the social medias where we end up for Friday. That is also going to be the date that we draw our very final Alphabets raffle. We've touched on the raffles tonight, but we really haven't explained them in detail for those of you who might be new to the channel. At the present moment, we've got two ongoing monthly raffles that we've run on this channel. Raffle number one is the Alphabets raffle. That's the one that you enter with the Twitch channel points, aka the Alphabets points. There at the bottom of the chat panel, we've got the Alphabets serial icon, the iconic icon that lovingly represents our channel points here on the Slant Alpha channel. The button next to that tells you how many of those you have, and if you click on that, you'll get options to cash in those for your Alphabets raffle entry. 2,000 points gets you one, and then if you save up and do 10,000 points, we'll give you a bonus, and we'll give you 6 there for the price of 5. So 2,000 for 1, 10,000 for 6, that's how you enter the Alphabets raffle. That final Alphabets raffle will be drawn toward the end of the stream on Friday. We are then going to switch over to a different channel activity using those points, and we'll talk more about what that's going to entail at the conclusion of that raffle drawing on Friday. But for now, you got one final chance to get in on the Alphabets raffle, and those Twitch channel points are the venue for doing so. On Friday, when we draw that winner, the winner gets their choice of any item off of the Slant Alpha prize vault list, which is the Slant Alpha t-shirt, ball cap, mouse pad, coffee mug, or tote bag with the Slant Alpha branding on it. We no longer have the tapered mugs, but if you do want a Slant Alpha mug, the regular standard cylindrical coffee mugs, we still have those. So those are still available. If you choose any of the merch items, I will ship to you at my cost anywhere in the world, so don't worry that you're going to end up owing money. This is all completely free to participate in, regardless. If you don't want any of that garbage, you don't want to give me your mailing address, whichever reason or whatever else you just prefer, one of these prizes down here at the bottom, you can choose one of those instead. That's an electronic gift card either to Amazon or xplane.org store or simmarket.com. So there should be a little something there for everybody. And that's the Alphabets raffle. Now, we've got a second raffle that we do on the toward the end of the even-numbered months. That's our landing rate raffle. Once we get established on the approach into Mudhole Smith, we'll talk more about that. The next drawing for that is actually going to be January 1st, New Year's Day, but that's going to turn back into a monthly raffle rather than a bi-monthly raffle starting in 2026. And like I said, the Twitch channel points will be used for a different activity. So we will have one raffle and one raffle only, but we'll do it every month. But we will have another activity with those Twitch channel points that we'll talk about at the end of Friday's stream. And then coming up in December, guys, we're actually going to have a stretch. Now, there are a couple of days in December. Our normal show schedule, by the way, I should say, back up and say, our normal show schedule is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. There are certain days that I switch around if I've got personal or work obligations, and that does happen with fair frequency, so it's not a bad idea if you really want to catch the show to check out the full show schedule underneath the About tab or over on our Discord server. Not only will it tell you what nights we're going to be on, but it'll tell you what we're planning to be up to. Well, there's a stretch in the middle of December where I'm kind of on again, off again because of personal and work obligations. But the streams that I am on are all going to be air traffic control event streams hosted by the hosted or co-hosted by the Washington ARTCC. So 3 in a row air traffic control streams. So we got the air traffic control stream coming up on Friday, the 28th, but then in the middle of December we've got 3 in a row, and you can check out that full show schedule under the About tab or over on our Discord server and see which days I mean and what we're going to be up to on those. 2 more that we're hoping to end up at the Chesapeake sector of Potomac, and then 1 where we're hoping to grab up a Delta Tower over on the western side of the airspace because we're going to do a little general aviation themed GA Class Delta feature over on the western side of the airspace down toward the middle of December. Should be a fun one. But the full details are over on the Discord server or underneath the About tab. For those who get new to the stream, we do a fair amount of different things here on the channel. We do, tonight you're watching me fly a modern airliner, which is kind of not the most often thing that you see here on the channel. Most often you're going to see a little bit more of a vintage flare, or you're going to see general aviation style flying. Slant Alpha refers to the roots of the channel in which we almost always were flying with that old school analog style of navigation. So we've recently gotten a little bit more away from that. Recently started flying the DC-6 with a Garmin 430, the Learjet 35, the Fly Somewhere Learjet with the Garmin 430, 530 rather. And then we do have that UNS-1, that very primitive flight management computer that we fly in the Just Flight BAE 146. And then, of course, this plane, obviously, we've got the modern, I forget what it's called, Honeywell, Rockwell Collins, whatever it is. The 737 thing, the FMC. So yeah, we've gotten kind of away. Now when we fly that Piper Comanche, that A2A Simulations Piper Comanche, we do still fly that with traditional radio-based navigation. Of course, a lot of times when we fly that, we are flying VFR. So we're not navigating by instruments at all. We're navigating based on what we see out the window. We're looking at VFR sectional charts, and we're looking at things like lakes, roads, rivers, towers, airports that we're not landing at but we're passing over, and that sort of thing. Terrain, mountain ridges, stuff like that. Charlie says, I finally made a flight plan, Edmonton to Toronto. Okay, well, first of all, that's a much more reasonable length of flight. I will ask, and I will ask this rhetorically, you can answer if you choose to. Based on how unfamiliar you are, I'm assuming that you are not connected to the VATSIM network when you are doing this. I don't know if you're a VATSIM member. If you are, it's a very fun network to be on, but given the level of unfamiliarity, yeah, you're not okay. Yeah, it's something that you can look into once you get a little more familiar with and comfortable with the operation of the aircraft. You haven't heard much interaction tonight because I'm just flying in an area where there isn't any online air traffic control on the network at the moment. Up in Alaska, it's a little bit less of a popular region for air traffic control services, but down here you can see lots of other pilots. You got air traffic control services being provided on the network. You would hear a lot more verbal interaction going on if we were flying in one of these areas, and that's what you normally hear on the channel. Is when we fly on VATSIM, we hear a lot of interaction between myself and VATSIM air traffic controllers. And of course, like I said, on Friday you're going to hear the opposite. You're going to hear me be the controller and me talking to other pilots, other people being pilots. So I am on VATSIM tonight, just happen to be where there isn't anybody else at the moment. Alright, so we have gotten up to cruise. Hey, hang on a second. Alright. The seatbelt signs can come off. Let's do one final pressurization check. Yeah, we see that the cabin altitude's sitting right about 7,500 or thereabouts, and it does seem to be leveling off, so it's no longer climbing. And the differential's right up under the red mark, which means this is still within normal range. Again, about 10,000 it tends to sit here, 18,000 it tends to sit here, and then at cruise it gets up kind of right underneath the maximum. So everything looking good in terms of cabin pressure. Everything appears to be normal. We have turned off the fasten seatbelt signs. Greetings from the flight deck with an update. We have reached our cruise altitude of 36,000 feet. We've turned off the fasten seatbelt signs. The cabin crew is going to come around with a fine selection of Red Bull products and Copper River sockeye salmon. So do sit back, relax, and enjoy. And we will give you an update on the weather situation in Cordova once we start our descent. Thanks again for flying along with us on Alaska Airways. Oh, and flying at Beech Aft King Air. So that's a good compromise, Charlie, actually, as you're getting familiar. The King Air still has some systems, some complex systems in terms of flight management and navigation and pressurization, but it's not going to be quite as complex. And, of course, it's a turboprop, so it's got some engine management that you need to do as well, but it's not going to be quite as complex as a full-blown airliner. So it's a good compromise. And it's small enough that you can go to major airports, or you can go to some smaller regional and municipal airports in a King Air as well. So good variety possible with a plane of that, moderate size, medium size. And yeah, it's going to have some complexity to it. You will need to kind of hunt down some checklists and flow lists on it, but might not be quite as busy as a twin jet airliner. So yeah, good call. But yeah, and then once you start getting to the point where you're comfortable in the plane that you're flying, that you can take off and land, you can maintain an assigned heading, altitude, and speed, and you know how to follow the route, but you also know how to deviate off and back onto the route, things like that, then you might consider getting onto VATSIM, where you would have interaction with other human pilots and human air traffic controllers, and really get into some more realistic traffic situations. So it's pretty immersive. Like I said, tonight's not a real good taste of that because we're just flying where there isn't anybody else flying today. But come back and watch us on Friday. You'll be able to watch me do some VATSIM air traffic control, or come back and watch us on a day where we're flying a little bit busier area, or watch some of our previous streams where we've been doing some flying in a little bit busier area, and you'll get a taste for what that's like. And it's really cool, but it does require that you kind of know how the airplane works, and how to handle it, and how to operate it, and how to be ready for the unexpected with it. So first things first, I like the approach that you're taking. Kind of start with, hey, how do I do this, and then worry about the next steps. Sir Mowgli says, will VATSIM allow people who like fighter jets to use them? It depends. If you are flying a fighter jet just from point A to point B, you were basically doing a flight that could be accomplished in a civilian jet. You just happen to be doing it in a fighter jet instead, then the answer is yes. If you are looking to do fighter jet stuff, like intercepting people or dogfights or bombing runs or things like that, then the answer is no, except that you can once you join what they call Virtual Special Operations Group. So they really just don't want people getting into fighter jets and harassing users that are just trying to do standard civilian flights. So they have some pretty strict rules about it. If you're looking to do fighter type stuff, you probably want to look more like DCS, Digital Combat Sim, might be a better spot for you. VATSIM does allow, like I said, if you're just going, just doing A to B, then absolutely, VATSIM does allow that. As a matter of fact, we've got a regular user. I don't think he's been in the chat tonight, Kenny Monster. He basically flies in X-Plane. I can't remember if he has X-Plane 11 or 12 at this point, but he flies the F-16 all around that USA. And just really just doing point-to-point flights, same as you would if you were civilian. He's just doing them a lot faster than everybody else, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, no problem. I mean, it gets a little sensitive. The only thing you don't want to do is a point-to-point flight somewhere where there's an actual real-world conflict happening, even if you're just going A to B, but you happen to be near where a real-world war is going on. If it looks, it's a smell test. If it smells funny, then they're gonna come down against it. But if you're just in a benign, non-conflict area, just going from one airport to another, yeah, absolutely fine. And typically, even if you were to wander somewhere where you didn't realize that the optics weren't great, and Kenny Monster can attest, a network supervisor, network moderator would reach out and say, hey, look, we understand your intent here. You're just going from A to B, but you happen to be overflying a sensitive area, so just take this one off the network or go somewhere else. And it's not like you're in trouble, but if the optics aren't good, they're gonna make you disconnect. But normally, if you're in a area where there's no conflicts going on, there's no problem with it whatsoever. Trying to get as real as I can, says Mowgli, trying to learn all the maps and ATC stuff. Yeah, it's a steep learning curve. We've been having that conversation with Charlie earlier as well. I mean, really, once you are familiar and comfortable with handling the aircraft, then the next step is the realistic procedures and the realistic routing and the realistic communications. If you look on my YouTube channel, you got my YouTube link there on the lower left-hand side of your screen. There is a playlist over there called VATSIM Tutorials. So once you get to the point where you're thinking about dipping your toe into the VATSIM network, but you need a guide on what to say to controllers or how to put a route together, how to read some of the charts, how to avoid some of the common mistakes, you can certainly check that information out. That link's going to come back on the bottom of the screen there in just a moment. Certainly check that information out, and you're more than welcome to ask whatever questions that you have right there in the comments on those, or come find us over on our Discord. We tend to have a pretty newbie-friendly community over on our Discord channel in terms of helping people get started who are interested in getting onto VATSIM. So please feel free to find your way there. Can't quite tell how far out's our top of descent. Top of descent is 160 miles, almost on the nose. It's right on that second ring there. So if I pull it back to this scale, it should be just about ready to pop into view at this zoom level. We're a little bit early ahead of the game if we start briefing the approach, but not a bad idea. Let's go ahead and do that. We know that there was some weather moving through. There's their very good friend Stu222, STW222. He's doing VATSIM air traffic control on the network right now. So if you want to pop in on his channel, there's the stream link. I'll paste it in. If he's not too busy, he's very good about answering questions too. But if he gets busy, sometimes he just doesn't have time to. So anyway, last we checked that there was a good amount of weather coming through Cordova right now. Looks like that hasn't changed. It's still, well, it might be. It looks like the tail end of it might be moved off by the time we get up there. We'll see. But let's just get a recent update. So it's now 0806. So the wind is fairly light, but it does seem like we still want that eastbound arrival. We got a GPS Bravo that lines up. It's offset line up to runway 8. So we will need, or 9er rather, runway 9er. So we will need to do, we will need to catch sight of the airport from the final approach fix and probably break out and turn a little bit wider here to get ourselves aligned with the center line and then touch down right on runway 9er. So this is and our route ends at Castle, and then it's, just following that, again, kind of a right downwind, same as what we did into Sitka. And then, if we make it down runway 9er, it's going to be roll it down about 2/3. So we're going to want a fairly firm auto brake as well, so that we don't have to roll past it and turn around and back taxi. 7,500 foot runway, so we're going to want to stop at about 2/3 of that. I mean, that's roughly equivalent to what we have at Key West, but it does mean we were going to want to put it down pretty close to the numbers and have a fairly firm auto brake so that we don't miss that turnoff onto the ramp there. So circling approach, so the minimums aren't going to be as low. It's going to be 520. I think that was the same minimums that we had into Sitka. We're just going to need, there's no frequencies to tune. It's an RNAV approach only. It's not using any kind of ground-based radio beacon to align itself. It's just going by the GPS points. Our FMC is going to provide a glide path based on the altitudes assigned to each point, so we will have some vertical guidance as well. And then if we do go missed, it's going to be a turn right back to that point Bico, so just a climbing right turn immediately to 3,000. And what do we say the weather conditions were there? Well, hold on. We were looking on Sky Vector, but let's get an official one right through the pilot client here. PAKT-PASI-PACV 0806. So mostly down the center line there. Scattered at 32, overcast at 47. Temperature 3, which is essentially like high 30s. And 3011 is the altimeter, which we'll go ahead and pre-arm over here. Okay, so our top of descent is now on the map, but it's still 120 plus miles out. So we're getting a little ahead of the game by getting all this. Whoops. Minimums of 520. Yeah, exactly, down to the foot. Same minimums that we had in Sitka. We'll get ahead of the game here, too. Let's just double check that all the points are in correctly. So after Castle, it's 3,000 to Belts, and then 3,000 to Bico, and then 2,200 to Hista, and then 1,540 to Nesky. Oh, no. Yeah, 1,540 to Nesky, and then that's the kind of the point where we'll intercept and then descend to the minimums of 520 for the runway. We don't have a fix for the runway since this is basically a circling approach, but we can go into the fix page. We'll go ahead and put the airport in just by its identifier PAKT-PASI-PACV. And we'll put a 4-mile ring around that to represent when we need to be fully configured for arrival. So this is the very latest point you should be with gear down and that landing flaps set by the time you cross that 4-mile ring. And then at 10 miles out, this is the latest point at which you should start putting the flaps out and configuring for landing. So by 10 miles out, you should be starting to configure if you haven't already. By 4 miles out, you should be fully configured for landing if you aren't already. Let's go to the initialization. We're going to do a flaps 30. Since flaps 40 is only going to get us 2 knots, no need to do that. Flaps 30 is standard unless you really need that extra performance. So we'll do a flaps 30, and 135 is going to be our V speed for our VREF, and then since it's a nice light wind, we'll just add 5 to that. So the the approach speed will be 140, the VREF speed will be 135. So we'll get that all bugged in as we go. My goal, the FMC will probably keep us at a pretty high speed into Belts and Bico and then the turn. My goal is after we pass Castle to be down at 210. And then once we are almost at Belts making this turn, this is only a 5-mile leg, so by the time I'm approaching Belts, I'm going to be bringing it back from 210 to 170, and then 170 down to final until we get to about 5 out, and we'll slow it to our VREF, or V approach rather. So what's its plan for speeds? So it's saying 240, it's saying 212 over Bico. Yeah, I'm going to have it dialed back way below that. I'm going to have a maximum 170 by that point. And again, all that changes if there's a VATSIM air traffic controller on to tell you otherwise. Now in this case, Cordova is a non-towered field, so there's not going to be a tower controller sequencing us for arrivals. However, there could be somebody who is working us in from an approach clearance standpoint who would be dictating certain speeds on that approach. But really, unless they're really sequencing us tight, and they shouldn't be, because you can't really sequence tight arrivals one after the other when you have certain ones that will have to back taxi and turn off. So they shouldn't be really strict about speeds, but in case they have any kind of need for certain spacing, they could issue speed restrictions that would be contrary to what I just said. But for me, to maintain my comfort level, as soon as we pass Castle, 210 max, and then prior to even reaching Belts, I want to bring it down to 170 to make these 2 turns and then get on to the final approach course. So let's do a real quick approach briefing again, very much ahead of the game here. frequency and course not applicable. Missed approach frequency and course not applicable. Missed approach altitude is going to be just a right turn to 3. FMC was reviewed and missed approach legs included, and everything was set. Range rings were set. V speeds 140 and 135. Minimums 520 set. Ceiling and visibility. No visibility issues. Scatter clouds at 3200. So we should be below the bases by the time we intercept this approach. If the observation holds up, but we do know there's some precipitation moving through the area. Wind is going to be fairly light, 6 knots, and it should be mostly right down the center line. So crosswind shouldn't be much of a factor. The turnoff will be a left-hand turnoff unless we go past that second entrance, in which case we'll have to back taxi, turn off to the right. Auto brake, therefore, we do want to put a fairly robust auto brake, not quite maximum, but you know, thinking in terms of getting off at about 5,000 feet, we do want to put it up to about a 3 there. And then we'll get the spoilers armed once we are sure we don't need them for the approach. I'm sure for the descent. Better not need spoilers for the approach. If you need spoilers for the approach, something has gone wrong. But everything's looking good. 80 miles out now from top of descent. So our arrival into Sitka, I felt it went very, very well. There was one moment when I let the speed get really low. This is what were the V speeds coming into Sitka, guys? 130, 144, and 139, I think. And then I think at one point on turning on the final, I realized that we were down at like 129. So I let it get really slow, about 10 knots slow. Threw some throttle in, but only briefly, and then kind of got it back to a reasonable throttle setting. We got right back up to our VREF speed, or V approach speed, and everything proceeded pretty normally from there. I think the speed adherence was pretty good after that one little burst. The only thing that I said I really wish I had done differently, other than that, was I did flare a little bit late and or maybe not aggressively enough. So just as I was starting to bring the nose up, the wheels went ahead and touched down. And I think that we just quite missed the timing on that, where it registered as a fairly firm touchdown. By the same token, though, I was pretty pleased with the overall execution. I don't think it would have been one of those shocking firm touchdowns like you see on TikToks and YouTube. I think it would have been just a bit of a jolt, and everyone would have looked at each other and go, okay, we're down. You know, one thing I like to say is, like, the nice thing about a nice firm touchdown like that is nobody in the cabin has any doubt that a landing has occurred, so. You know, they're not all looking at each other going, wait a minute, have we touched down yet? They're like, oh, yeah, we're down. No doubt. Ethan Speedbird is here. Ethan Speedbird, welcome to the channel. Hang on, guys, let me just spin through the phone real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything critical. That's a duplicate. Get rid of that. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Alright, so anyway. Feeling pretty good about the briefing here. We are starting to see a little bit of clutter around the destination, so I'm going to just back the map range off a little bit. Top of descent is now just about 55 miles out. Matter of fact, and again, let's do one more check. Yeah, still no VATSIM air traffic control services where we are, although we're not too far outside of where they're offering some VATSIM air traffic control. We got Edmonton and Vancouver on doing some Canadian air traffic control services. We're just barely outside of their operating range. So just all by our lonesome here. Did I ever? Yeah, so I have been monitoring the general advisory frequency so far. Let's just make sure as we come into Cordova, what's the... It's 123.6. Has that been the same advisory frequency the entire time? 123.6? Well, let's do an updated METAR just to see whether anything's changed. It is still that same 0153 Zulu observation, so nothing's changed. The current time is 0253. So if we check again in about 10 minutes, we may well see an update there. If we check for the common traffic advisory frequency at PACV, it is indeed 123.6 as it has been all night. So apparently, and it's marked on the approach plate as Juneau radio. So I guess that is just a frequency, a self-announcing operational advisory frequency that might cover this whole region, perhaps. I don't really know. But in terms of how it works on VATSIM, we'll just switch over to it once we get close to the airport. And what are we calling this place? Are we calling it Mudhole? Mudhole traffic or just Cordova traffic? That's just saying. We'll call it Mudhole. It's more fun to say. I feel like it probably should just be Cordova traffic, but Mudholes will be a lot more fun to say, so we'll say that. Alright, just inside of 40 to top of descent now. And and I started to say, what are we descending to? We're not, it's not like we would here descend via the such and such arrival. We don't have any kind of a standard terminal arrival route that we are following. JJ, what a great name, says JJ. Yeah, man, we're flying into the Mudhole. Hopefully not literally. Although we've done some of these Alaska approaches before, and trust me when I say anything can happen. So when we get to Bico down to Hista, 2200 is the final approach fix altitude. So let's just go ahead and set that. But once we activate approach mode, as we turn from Belts to Bico, we make sure that the RNAV approach activates, and then once that is active, when we confirm that on the primary flight display, the annunciator panel up top of the PFD, then we'll know that we can go ahead and change the set altitude from 2200 to the missed approach altitude of 3000, which we would only use if we somehow don't make it down. But for right now, let's just go ahead and say we're going to be cleared down to 2200. And really, honestly, so an air traffic controller would typically give you not all the way from cruise down to 22. It would be kind of probably intermediate step downs as traffic allowed. You know, but again, no controllers and no traffic up in this area. We can take a few liberties like that, and we'll just say we're good to go all the way down to FAF. $20 miles of TOD. Do we want to go ahead and get the announcement going? Do we want to? Well, let's see if we got a weather update. Probably a little too early. So the METAR update, as we mentioned, you know, they typically come around 7 minutes prior to the hour. But sometimes it takes about 10 minutes before we start seeing those updates make it to the network. So, yeah, as of this moment, it's still that same 153 Zulu update. Well, let's see if SkyVector has the update yet. 153 Zulu, so you see that PACV 270153. That's the date and time of the observation. So, but 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. So we're now slightly more than an hour past that. But like I said, the new observation just takes a few minutes to get to these exterior sources. So we might see an update by the time we start down. I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and get the seatbelt signs on. But then we'll do the cabin update announcement after we've started down. And that way we're going to get ourselves one just slightly better chance of getting that weather update. And if not, we'll just go with the numbers that we got. What do we have in terms of numbers there? What are we saying as of right now? Light winds, overcast skies, temperatures 3, which is what? Mid-30s? Mid to high 30s. Alright, you hear the engines throttling back, and you see that we're now out of 360 descending. What do I got? I've got the weather over here and the terrain over there. Yeah, obviously terrain's not a factor yet, but it certainly looks like we've got good amount of moderate precipitation moving through. Alright, well, let's update our passengers. See if we can get that 110 at 10, gusting to 17 now, so it is still very gusty out of the east. Matter of fact, that's going to change our approach speed. Our ref speed's still 135, but now we're going to be adding 5 plus 7, so 12. So now we're going to be 135 and 147 is going to be our new ref speed because of the higher winds. 3013 is the new. Overcast skies and very gusty winds. Greetings from the flight deck with an update. We have turned on the fasten seatbelt sign, and we've asked that you return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts as we now have started our descent into Cordova. The cabin crew is going to come around one final time to collect trash and take care of any last-minute needs. Weather at our destination is pretty dicey. We've got some very, very gusty winds, low overcast. Temperatures are right in the mid to high 30s right now. But we do have some precipitation that's been moving through the area. Nothing showing at the airport at this very second, but some very gusty winds. So we are going to do our best to make a nice, safe arrival into Cordova. If it takes multiple attempts, we will make sure that we do that nice and safely for you, and we do have a plan to divert if we have to. So we will give you an update as we get closer and let you know if our plans change. As for right now, we are still planning to make our arrival into Cordova in approximately 25 minutes, but do make sure those seatbelts are nice and fastened, nice and tightly fastened rather, as it might be very, very bumpy as we descend into our destination. Thanks again for flying along with us on Alaska Airlines Flight 514, and again, we will update you if anything changes with our plan. Just can't shake that raspiness, guys. I apologize, though. Cold or flu or whatever I had 3 weeks ago, still just eking out of me ever so gradually, but it gives it that weight of like something very important when that raspy voice comes in, right? Alright, so we're kind of monitoring. It looks like the plane is slightly below its intended descent path and slightly below its intended descent speed. So no concerns as of the moment that it's going to need us to add a bunch of drag. We got a little bit of a weather update there, a little bit of a push back and forth that you saw. It's a little bit early yet, but just to give the plane time to adjust, I'm going to go ahead and switch into the local altimeter now. Obviously that changes the altitude reading, but we'll give it just that extra 3,000 feet in terms of giving it time to kind of readjust to the descent plan here. And just for my situational awareness, where is the... So as we turn Belts and Bico, the terrain is going to be mostly to our left, but there will be some terrain off to our north on the far side of the center line. And then if we go miss, we got to just make sure that it's a right turnout to avoid terrain off in front of us to our left. So I think I don't need the terrain warnings on my side of the screen. I think we're going to be much more concerned with the weather. Yeah, we're getting pushed around pretty good now. Well, this one's going to be fun, guys. Buckle in, tighten up. Light returns in the vicinity of the airport. Moderate returns to the west. Moderate returns to the northeast. Northwest, rather, or due north, actually. Sorry, we're facing west, so this is north of the airport here. Alright, I'm going to get ahead of the plane just a tiny little bit. 5,000 feet early, but we're going to go ahead and alert the cabin crew. We'll go ahead and get forward-facing lights on, and yes, I will include... Whoops. Nope, 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 nope. Off. Off. God. I'm going to include the taxi light, not the frickin' APU. Zyx Matrix is here. Hello from Maryland. Well, I'm down on Maryland's eastern shore. I think we've probably talked about that before. It's been a while since I've seen you on the stream, but I do remember talking to you either here or someone else's stream. But yeah, I think we've crossed paths before. But yeah, I'm down on the eastern shore. I'm down just outside of Ocean City. Alright, through 10 we did the cabin alert. We'll go ahead and say that the cabin is secure for arrival. Again, doing that a little early, but because it's going to be bumpy here. Landing and turn off lights. Taxi light on. Continuous. Oh. I turned on the ground start. I should have turned on the continuous ignition. I don't know what that would do in the real world. Hopefully it didn't damage the plane. Well, you're right across the bay. Yeah, we're actually heading up that way tomorrow. Most of my wife's family and a good amount of my family is all up kind of the greater Baltimore region, so we'll be crossing the bridge tomorrow morning. Alright, coming to this Point Castle, I had said, wanted to kind of get the brakes pressed, so we'll get it down to 210, and then as we come up to that point Belts, we're definitely going to want to slow it down to about 170. Let's go ahead and get over to the advisory frequency. What is this? The RNAV Bravo. Modal traffic. Alaska 514 is a 737. On the high right downwind 9,000, joining the RNAV Bravo into runway 9er for the full stop Cordova. Oh, you're like 2 hours south of Baltimore? Okay, yeah, you're down. I'll name some towns you don't need to confirm and dox yourself, but I'll say, St. Mary's, Waldorf area, down near Patuxent Naval Air Station, that kind of ballpark. Yeah, there we go. Very, very familiar, Zyx. I went to University of Maryland. I had friends down in Waldorf and Mechanicsville area. Friend's dad that worked for Calvert Cliffs, worked security for Calvert Cliffs. Dated a girl who lived over in Chesapeake Beach. No, North Beach, actually, just north of Chesapeake Beach. So, yeah, know the area well. Yeah, JJ's a native of that side of the world as well. We are below 250. I'm going to go ahead and start getting flaps in. That means that we don't need spoilers. We're going to go ahead and get those armed. Matter of fact, below 250, we can go all the way to 5. At 210, we can go to 10. 195, we can go to 15. Alright, coming up on belts, I say we're going to drop it to 170. Let's do that. We'll go ahead and get the gear out and help us slow down even further. Once we pass belts, I'll get it into approach mode. And then once we're showing that we're on the approach path, go ahead and get the missed approach altitude set. Alright, well, below 195, now we can go flaps. Is it 10 or 15? I think 210 we can go to 10. Yeah, 195 we can go to 15. Mudhole traffic. Alaska 514 is a 737 joining the Arnav Bravo on the 12-mile final south and west of the airport for runway 9er. Cordova. Mudhole. Oh, did some plane spotting at DCA. Yeah, DCA's got some great plane spotting locations. Okay, approach mode is armed. And remember, we said 12 knots above VREF. So ref's 130, oh, 137 now. Oh, 135. And so 147 is going to be our approach ref. We'll get that set closer in to about a 5-mile final. Actually, right as we pass that point, Hista. Turdog is here. What's going on, Turdog? You guys can start putting some predictions into the chat as far as the vertical descent rate at the moment the wheels touch runway surface. No bot command necessary on that for this channel. Just a number into the chat. With or without the minus sign, we'll know the immediate descent rate. Either way, feet per minute at the moment the wheels touch runway surface, and the closest predictor gets an automatic entry into our bi-monthly landing rate raffle, next to be pulled on New Year's Day. It's still showing VNAV path. I don't want it to cut off at 2200, so I'm just going to set it down to the minimums right now, until I'm sure that it's not going to level off there. Of course, the way to be sure that it's not going to level off there is to get it out of autopilot, which we'll do momentarily. .38 knot right to left right now. Looks like we're starting to break out. And when we do, I do want to kind of circle up a little bit to the left and come in. Oh, there's our runway right there. Cordova traffic, Alaska 514 and 737. It's about 9 miles out. We're going to enter a right base, runway 9er, full stop, Cordova. Alright, we're going to set the missed approach altitude 3000.
2500.
Get those predictions in, friends. Alright, 147 is what we want to... We're too slow already. Alright, gears down and green, landing flap set and checked. Left-hand turnoff if we make it down prior to the turnoff. Right to 3,000 if we go missed. Cabin crew is alerted. Continuous ignition's on. And we should probably watch out for that rock right in front of us, huh? Mudhole traffic, Alaska 514, 737, short right base to final. Runway 9er, Cordova. Mudhole. Okay, we got all whites. Now we got one red. Overshooting the turn just a little bit, but we'll get it. Not too bad. We're going to get blown back over just a touch anyway. Got a very slight left to right component on the wind. Okay, glide slope's good, alignment's good, speed's just a touch fast, but I mean just a touch.
Approaching minimums.
We are landing.
Minimums. $300. $200. $100. $50, $40, $30, $20, $10.
Alright, not terrible. Fought the crosswind just a little bit and floated it just a little bit, but not terrible. There's our first turn off. We got another ramp turn off coming up ahead, so we're good here. Cancel reversers, get a little manual braking in. Yeah, all that went pretty well. Again, it registered slightly firm, and of course, yeah, we touched down on the one wheel first because we were trying to stay aligned. But overall, given the difficulty of the wind and the difficulty of the alignment, not displeased. Alright, first things first, APU. Continuous ignition can be now turned off. Forward facing lights can all be turned off. We'll leave the taxi light on. Blinky blinkies can be turned off. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Where's blinky blinkies? There we go. Flaps can be stowed. Spoilers can be stowed. Cordova traffic, you know, who are we? Alaska 514 is clear, runway 9er, Cordova. Mudhole. Probe, window, ignition, yeah, we did that all good. Flight directors, minimums resets. Let's go, so I take this straight in and then make the left up ahead. Auto throttle, let's see, let's get down here and do the TA and RA off. Terrain radar off. Terrain radar off there. Auto brake. And APU, I think I got fired up as well. Let's just double check. Flaps and spoilers, probe heat, windscreen, continuous ignition, weather terrain, flight directors, auto brake, minimums, transponder, landing, turn off, and position lights, and APU. Heck, man, we're getting good at this. Alright, I guess that's our spot. I'm not real sure. Alright, well, again, I mean, you know, the overall execution I was very happy with. The number registered a little on the firm side, but not as bad as the first one, and I was very pleased. Again, the number's just part of the game. My overall goal is to execute a stable approach within you know, within normal tolerances, and you know, and a good flare attitude and all that sort of stuff. So at the end of the day, the number is what it is, but overall my grade comes on my execution. The first one I gave a B minus. This one B plus maybe. All right, friends, let's get the turnaround checklist done. Talk about my predictions, and then we'll talk about your predictions. Let's get the APU buses on. So we're now providing electricity. Let's get APU bleed and ISO valve on. So now providing air conditioning as well. And then we'll come down here. Whoops. Come down here and just do the engine shutdown. Up top, we can get the fuel pumps off. We'll leave one on for the APU. Anti-collision light can be turned off. Wheel well lights can be turned on. Seatbelt signs and chime can be turned off. Let's jump down to the FMC and get some ground services going. We'll get the wheel chocks set. We'll get the ground power. We'll get the ground air conditioning. Door and cargo and equipment hatches all open. Transponder to standby and set it to 2000. Am I near Alaska? No, I'm in Alaska. Up top, we can get the ground power connected. APU bleed can be turned off. ISO valve can be turned off. PACs can be turned off. Final fuel pump can be turned off, and APU can be turned off. Alright, let's check on my predictions, guys, and then we'll check on your predictions. wound up with a little less fuel than I anticipated. We were 900 pounds short after the first leg, and how short were we for the second leg? I see it says, well, hold on. See, it says 8.3 there now, so we were now 1,100 pounds short. So we were a little less fuel efficient both legs. However, timing-wise, look at that, 10:28 Eastern Time, 1 minute early. Look at that. Timing worked out really well. So, yeah, a little less. And I tell you what, this spreadsheet doesn't quite hold up sometimes when we're cruising at slightly lower altitudes than we kind of did the optimization for. So technically we were 200 pounds short on this leg because we went from 900 to 1,100 short, and then this was 900 pounds. So this flight we did, what are we, 360 here? So 200 pounds short. I'm not sure what accounts for that. But the 900 pounds, we were cruising at what? We were cruising at 240 there. So that accounts for us being not quite as fuel efficient as what the spreadsheet calculated. But, oh, you happened to fly by while I was landing? Oh, there we go. Yeah, that was me. Anyway, so my predictions worked out okay, but again, flying at a slightly lower altitude created slightly more fuel consumption than I had anticipated. What was the number in terms of, we wound up with a 16-knot crosswind, but it was pretty much straight down the center. That helped us out. And 254 was the number that registered, but again, overall, I was happy with the execution there. What were the numbers that you guys put in? 222, 160, 143, to 175. 250 is 4 away. Call-up's going to go 2 for 2 tonight. 200 Carter. We got the resub right there coming in from ELW. Right on time to close up shop here. Yeah, well, Qual-up 2 for 2 tonight. So congrats to another entry into our landing rate raffle. The next drawing for that is going to be for January 1st, New Year's Day. That'll be the one that we pull, at the end of our December. We pretty much have been doing those toward the end of the even-numbered months. Where are we? PACV on 11/26. Been doing those toward the end of the even-numbered months, but then starting in 2026, we're going to go back to doing the landing rate raffle every single month. And the Alphabets raffle will be no more. So, by the way, if you are looking to get in on our final Alphabets raffle drawing, you got tonight, and then you got Friday to get those in. That's the one that you enter with the Twitch channel points, a.k.a. the Alphabets points. There at the bottom of the chat panel. 2,000 gets you 1 entry. 10,000 gets you 6 for the price of 5. And what we're playing for here on these raffles is any item off of the Slant Alpha prize vault. So you can choose a merch item with the Slant Alpha branding on it, the t-shirt, the ball cap, mouse pad, coffee mug, or tote bag, which I will ship to you at my own expense. You can also choose, if you prefer, an electronic gift card to Amazon or Xplain.org store or Sim Market as your prize. So we'll pull the Alphabets winner on Friday toward the end of the stream. That's the one that you enter with the Alphabets points. And then this one for the landing rate raffle that Qual-Up just got 2 entries into tonight will be pulled on January 1st and then every single month after that. Alright, let's finish up the shutdown of the plane, guys, and then we'll see what we're see who we're shooting the raid over to. I guess I got a pretty good idea. Let's see. We would assume that you guys have made it all out of the airplane at this point, so let us go ahead and get the emergency lights unguarded and disarmed. Yaw dampers can come off, and the IRS knobs can come off. Logo, position, and wheel well lights can come off. Ground power bus can be disconnected. And then the battery can be turned off, and that is... Yep, wait a minute. Battery is this one over here. Wait a minute, where is it? There we are. All right, let's go to the menu. Yeah, we can push and hold the menu. Go to the doors. Close, close, and close. Obviously, we would close the entry door after we leave. And then we probably have, yeah, we can release ground power, and the wheel chocks will just remain set. Okay. That will do it, guys. Ooh, how close did I park to the building? Oh, perfect, yeah. Plenty of room. I mean, overall, okay, I was a little bit left. A little bit left of the marks there on the parking location. They're probably looking at me a little funny, like, why is he so close to the building? But not too bad. Without the benefit of a marshaller, that's not too bad. We'll take it. And we appreciate you guys riding along with us. So thanks very kindly for stopping in. Again, the stream's normal show schedule, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. I'm sorry, not 2300. During daylight, during standard time, it's 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, which is actually midnight Zulu on the day ahead. So that's our normal show schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings in terms of U.S. Eastern. Midnight on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday in terms of Zulu time. So that's our normal show schedule. You can always check out the full schedule underneath the About tab or over on our Discord server. There are certain days that we switch things up in terms of days that we need to be on in case we've got a special event we're trying to be in, or if we've got a personal or work obligation. So always check that schedule if you want to be certain when we'll be on, when we won't be on, and that'll also give you an idea of what we're going to be up to. It is a mix of general aviation and airliner flying on the channel, where we also do some VATSIM air traffic control for you. And as a matter of fact, the very next stream that we do is going to be a VATSIM air traffic control stream as VATUSA attempts to light up America. Basically, we're going to see exactly how much we can staff up the entire U.S. So VATUSA.net, pilot tools, events calendar. Of course, it was just on the screen a second ago, but you come down here to the 28th of November, which is Friday's date. And this is the plan for Friday. I am going to try to be on that Chesapeake sector of Potomac approach, which is the sector that surrounds BWI Airport, Baltimore, Washington International. But we'll see what the game plan ends up holding. They're not assigning staffing positions for this, so that's going to be a game time decision. We'll see. First come, first serve, and I will just try to be the first come to that position. You know what I mean? All right, anyway. So that's the plan for Friday. We'll see you 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, midnight Zulu on the day ahead. In the meantime, guys, if you're in the U.S., please have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving, especially if you, like I, are traveling tomorrow for that holiday. Please be safe in all of your travels and adventures as you make your way there and back. For those of you outside of the States, happy Thursday, and we will see you Friday. Do be happy and healthy and safe in all of your travels and adventures as well. All right, friends, we're going to send you over to our very good friend Stu222. So he's going to give you the warm-up in terms of VATSIM air traffic control, as he is currently doing that very thing over in Indianapolis Center. So we'll shoot you over to him, get you acclimated to watching an ATC scope, and then we'll be doing that very same thing for you on Friday starting at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. So thanks again for being with us tonight. We'll be back with you then. We are signing off from Studio 5, just outside of Ocean City, Maryland. And we will talk to you soon, friends. Good night. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care.